Will The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live Season 2 get announced next week during New York Comic Con? And now in today's video, I'm just going to be discussing about the possibility of an announcement happening, how likely is it, and just my speculation and theories about if they were to do an announcement, then in what sort of way will they do it? Will they do some sort of teaser? Will they show a poster like how they did before with Season 1? Or is it just going to be a normal confirmation? So please stay tuned. And now, before we actually get into the video, I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And I would like to ask you all to like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. And now, as we all know, New York Comic Con is happening on the 17th of October, and at the time of this recording, it's currently the 12th of October, so it's a little under a week. And now, the theories about The Ones Who Live getting a Season 2 have been quite prominent recently, and that's solely because of Denai Guerrera and Andrew Lincoln having some interviews here and there, and them being asked if they're going to return as Rick and Michonne, and they did not throw that possibility out of the window, to say the least. And because they've been dodging the question, and they've been saying stuff like never say never, or they would love to do it, but they're not deconfirming it. And that is one thing that's gotten people really riled up, right, in the community, and they're really theorizing that The Ones Who Live is getting a Season 2. And another reason for that is that about like a month ago in September, AMC released the DVD, the physical copy of The Ones Who Live, and it's being sold in stores everywhere, and it specifically says The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live Season 1. And now I would say that this is probably the closest thing to a confirmation to Season 2 that we have, and that is because, of course, it says Season 1 right there, right? I mean, it's plain and simple, right? I mean, if there was no other season for The Ones Who Live, why would they specify that it is Season 1? They would say like, oh yeah, the Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live full series or something like that, right? I mean, just to confirm that, yeah, this is the only season and this is the start and end of Rick and Michonne's story in the CRM, but they called it Season 1, and now that could be some sort of manufacturing error, right? Probably somebody during the distribution process of this whole thing, they made some sort of error, but they got it printed out, but they didn't call it back, nor they made any new copies, and they didn't specify that, oh yeah, okay, yeah, it's a full series DVD, or it's not Season 1. They didn't even say anything about it. They just put it in stores, and that's it. So in my opinion, that is another huge tease, or just like some sort of confirmation that Season 2 is happening. And now New York Comic Con is probably the place that they would announce it. And first of all, it's the month of October, right? I mean, The Walking Dead premiered in October, and it has such a link, right, with this month of horror, and it totally makes sense to announce a new Walking Dead series or just a new Walking Dead season in this month. And New York Comic Con, of course, AMC is going to be attending that. More specifically, they're going to be attending it on the 18th of October, right? So the second day of New York Comic Con, and that is an AMC panel, right, for the Walking Dead universe, where they're going to be showing Daryl Dixon Season 2 and also some stuff for Dead City Season 2, and it's also back to back. So this is just going to be a full hour just of Walking Dead content. And now, just like San Diego Comic Con, when they announced The Ones Who Live, they were just talking about The Walking Dead Season 11, and they did not give any sort of hint that Denai Guerrera and Andrew Lincoln were even in the building, and it was just a surprise. And then they showed up at the very end of it, and they announced The Ones Who Live. So I mean, it is definitely possible that they could do some sort of situation like this again, because the ending of The Ones Who Live was open-ended, but also it was a conclusion at the same time. It was very weird, right? It was a very weird ending, and I did voice my opinion about this ending quite a bit on the channel, where I did not like it all that much. And also, if you consider that that could possibly be the last time we see Rick and Michonne, or if it's just like their last spin-off or something like that, or if that's just the conclusion for their story, it is a very bad ending in my opinion. But like, you know, if there's a season 2, then, you know, that ending does not sting as much. And so yeah, like I think that if they were to announce season 2 of The Ones Who Live, they would do it in some sort of fashion like how they did at San Diego Comic-Con, where Danai Gurira and Andrew Lincoln came up on stage. And now, if there's not an announcement for The Ones Who Live Season 2, that would be very disappointing. But, you know, I would not rule out the possibility of Andrew Lincoln and Danai Gurira showing up. And that's because there are a lot of rumors that Andrew Lincoln could show up in one of the other spin-offs, right? He could show up in Daryl Dixon Season 2 or Season 3, or he could show up in Dead City Season 2. But I think that they would want to keep that under wraps. But, you know, like the track record we have for the Walking Dead universe, they like to announce things beforehand, which personally I don't like, right? That they should keep stuff like that under wraps. For example, like, you know, they announced like the Ones Who Live, right? They announced that Rick and Michonne are going to be getting a spin-off before the finale of season 11, which was very, very disappointing, right? I mean, the ending, right, like the finale, the very last scene where they showed Rick in season 11 would have been a much more impactful ending. But, you know, it's just how AMC works their things, right? You know, they just want to get fan hype through the roof. And, you know, it clearly works, right? Because, like, you know, the viewership for The Ones Who Live was quite high for AMC Plus. And yeah, like, you know, I think that if they were to announce something for Rick Grimes, right, it would either be The Ones Who Live Season 2, or Rick showing up in one of the spin-offs, or probably a brand new spin-off, right? Probably some sort of Commonwealth spin-off where they have all the other characters like Aaron, Gabriel, Ezekiel, Rick, Michonne, right? They have all these characters reuniting before Rick could reunite with Daryl, Maggie, Negan, and Carol. And I think that that is very possible also, because Seth Gilliam, the actor of Gabriel, is showing up to New York Comic Con, right? That is official. That is on the official website that he's going to be attending New York Comic Con. So that could just be just for, like, you know, like the autographs, or it could just be something else, just him appearing just for the fans. But also, it is very possible that they could announce a brand new spin-off with Gabriel, right? Because Gabriel did show up in The Ones Who Live, right? Maybe Gabriel has something to do with The Ones Who Live Season 2. Maybe he might get more screen time, right? Maybe they might work The Ones Who Live Season 2 as kind of a crossover event with the other characters. Probably instead of a Commonwealth spin-off, The Ones Who Live Season 2 is basically that Commonwealth spin-off, just Rick and Michonne running the Commonwealth, and, you know, some more threats, probably the CRM reemerge, or probably Pamela Milton is the main villain of that. Who knows? But I think that it is pretty weird that you know, Gabriel is showing up at New York Comic Con. But, you know, New York Comic Con is not as big as San Diego Comic Con, but, you know, it is very possible that they could still do the announcement here, because San Diego Comic Con was a few months back, right? That was in July, and a lot of people would say that they missed their chance for that huge announcement. But, you know, if you just announce that Rick is back and they're making The Ones Who Live Season 2, that would just blow up, right? I mean, regardless, even if they just do it on their social media platforms, it would still blow up regardless, and it would get a lot of eyes on it, because of course Rick is a moneymaker, and The Ones Who Live Season 1 was huge, right? I mean, even though a lot of people have some opinions about the show itself, me included, right? Even I have some opinions and some gripes with that spin-off, but again, like I just gave it a rewatch just like a few days ago, and it's not as bad as it seems if you keep in mind that, yeah, you know, season 2 is very well possible. But, you know, again, I just want to go back to how would they do this announcement, right? And again, like, you know, they could show Andrew Lincoln, right? Andrew Lincoln could just come up on stage and surprise everyone like that. Maybe that's a possibility. Maybe they could have Lenny James, Andrew Lincoln, and Danai Gurira coming up, because, again, like how I mentioned in a lot of my other videos, Morgan's story is directly connected to Rick at this point because of the ending of Fear, where he was looking for Rick. So maybe they could, you know, have some big announcement like that, yeah, you know, season 2 of The Ones Who Live is going to be a Morgan focused story, including Rick and Michonne, like how Daryl Dixon season 2 it is called The Book of Carol, right? I mean, just by seeing 2 episodes of Daryl Dixon, it is very Carol focused so far, right? And that's until they of course meet, and then it's going to be a Daryl and Carol story only. But for now, Daryl Dixon season 2 seems more like a Carol story. And they could totally treat it like that, right? Maybe they could announce the Book of Morgan, right? Or maybe Morgan gets his own spin-off and Rick appears in that. They could do that as well. Or they could have some sort of teaser for The Ones Who Live Season 2, right? Probably some sort of, some scenes from The Walking Dead and The Ones Who Live also. Maybe the ending of The Ones Who Live where Rick reunites with Judith and RJ. And they have some voiceovers and they basically tease the next upcoming threat for Season 2. They could do that as well. Or they could just show off a poster, right? And if Morgan has anything to do with Season 2, they could have, instead of having Michonne's katana, right, like how they had in that very first poster for The Ones Who Live, right, they had a bunch of CRM helicopters in the back with Michonne's katana and also the map saying the new world needs Rick Grimes. They could have Morgan's staff with CRM helicopters in the back, or some sort of radio, right? They could have a radio in the poster and just have The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live Season 2. Even though they might not announce that Morgan is going to be in the spin-off, that could just be a very nice tease to Morgan. But also another possibility is them announcing a crossover spin-off, like how Scott Gimple did say that he did want to do a crossover spin-off for The Walking Dead with all the characters back and basically do a Walking Dead Season 12. And I think that that is possible as well, but I don't think it's getting announced here, right? Because you still have Dead City Season 2, you still have Daryl Dixon Season 3, and possibly even The Ones Who Live Season 2. So I don't think that there's any space for announcing that spin-off, and also, of course, that would just spoil, like, you know, this character doesn't die, that character doesn't die, but they did do that before during Season 11 of The Walking Dead, so, I mean, they do make some questionable decisions, so I wouldn't put it past them, but I think that a crossover spin-off would be announced at San Diego Comic-Con, if anything, because, of course, that is a bigger stage to announce that sort of thing. But who knows, right? They could probably announce some sort of new spin-off, right? And probably not Season 2 of The Ones Who Live, but, you know, they could just announce a brand new spin-off, like how I mentioned before, a Commonwealth spin-off, but just confirm that Rick Grimes is going to be showing up in that. But is this likely to happen? I'm kind of 50-50 on it, but I would lead more towards likely, right? You know, this could very well happen, and that's just because of all the teases that they did, and just with Scott Gimple saying that never say never for a Season 2 of The Ones Who Live, and probably they didn't have everything confirmed during San Diego Comic-Con, so they didn't announce it then, but they have everything set now, so that's why they're just going to announce it at the very end of New York Comic-Con. And like, of course, Denai Guerrera and Andrew Lincoln teasing it, and of course that DVD saying The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live Season 1, all signs point towards The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live getting a Season 2. And yeah, I just hope that this happens, and this would be a very exciting announcement. But if it doesn't happen, then, you know, maybe some other time. But I think that if there is some place to announce it, I think that next week at New York Comic Con is the place to do it. And now that's it for today's video. I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And I would like to ask you all to like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.